Hello and welcome to BTG Magazine, BTG, Bridging the Gap Strategizing for Student Success. My name is Marissa Bludorn. I am the founder and editor-in-chief of the BTG Magazine. It's Bridging the Gap Strategizing for Student Success. And we've been talking over the last few series in regards to strategic planning. Today, we're going to be talking about the 7 elements that are important to strategic planning. They are the vision, the mission, SWOT analysis, core values, the goals, the objectives, and the action plan. Today, we're really going to focus in and drive in on core values. We're going to focus in on the goals and objectives and the action plan, but really, we're going to really hone in on core values. Taking center stage and owning it with me is the BTG magazine team, and that's Dr. Pollard. And that is, what did we start saying? Dr. Coach Ray
There we go. We're
inspired.
gonna put that out there, Dr. Coach Ray.
We got to put that out there in the atmosphere. We got to let it rickle back, right? And so,
Right?
just like I said, we're talking today in regards to the 7 elements that are important to strategic planning. That's the vision, the mission, SWOT analysis, core values, the goals, the objectives, and the action plan. But I really want us to focus in on core values because I don't believe that in our family environments, we really talk about intentionally and clearly defined family traditions. They're normally assumed, right, based on the different traditions, the different celebrations that we have in our family, but they're not discussed specifically. And core values are found in our families and how our families do things, their traditions, how we value and respect one another in the family. But I want to charge us to be more intentional and more conscious as to how we pass on those values to our young people so that they understand how core values really drive their ambition, their direction, their commitment to their own personal goals and achieving them and setting their own boundaries. And so, talk to me about some, we're introducing this, we're talking about this. How do you feel about core values? Do you think that they're present? They're clearly defined, not in absolute, but just in a way of giving a young person framework by which to operate within.
I think that some people have them. They're not absolute. They're very relative to the home, to where certain kids are connected. I made a statement yesterday at our Empower You Summit. If you have no expectations for your kid, you can't be mad if they don't reach any. Core values are directly correlated to expectations. If you have traditions, you create those traditions and you modify those traditions based upon how your kids are. But if there are no expectations, the core values are the lack of core values are a direct result of the, not going to say failures, but the inability to find early successes in your kids. Because those core values are going to push them to want to be successful because they're going to respect the values you have as a family. And because of the respect that they have for those values, they're going to want to achieve the level of success to make the family proud based upon where they were groomed within those core values. So set the expectations based on your core values.
Because you said something that was very important. Young people want to be proud of their families. And I think that sometimes we miss that. From little kids, like when they're toddlers, when they're babies, they want to be proud of their family. In fact, they start off proud of their family until something gets injected that makes them not so proud of their family, that brings a negative ideology towards their family. Until that's pointed out to them, kids are proud of their families, right? So they believe that their family has tradition. It's not until you get older that you look back and say, wait a minute, there was some assumptions, but not clearly defined. And so, Dr. P, chime in on that, core values.
We talk about core values, and there's a difference, like Coach said, some people may not even have them and they don't even know. And there's a difference between, what we hold as our personal values versus a core value. So you're talking about how we interact, how we communicate with each other, how a family dynamic often will just even spell out to come out into the community. And then we see that there's probably trouble in a home. But you're right, Marissa, students, kids, people want to be proud of their families. People want to be proud of themselves. And if they feel like they're ashamed or they have something to be shamed about, they don't even have any goals to get to because they don't even know what to do. They don't know how to be creative. They don't know how to be driven to be consistent, to give quality and to be reliable. We often talk about it, and I've heard you actually say this word at this sometime this week about the elephant in the room. And one of my favorite sayings is the pink elephant in the room because the elephant can be there, but that one's pink. We're really not going to ignore that one, you know. So that's really specific. So I think even just, it's important because you're talking about we're strategizing. Let's tell them what a core value is. So it's how you actually can build up how to have respect and be honest and humility and have some integrity. So those values that are making our society, our community the best they can be, that's the core values that you want to start teaching a student, a child. But you're right. Then it starts reflecting into who you are personally. Who do people know you to be? What kind of character that do you have? So we want to be responsible. And you already know this. We get to, as we're talking about students, we're talking about the village, those people that are outside of our immediate households, some people that we actually have some influence on. So if they're not getting those values at home where they're being taught to be respectful, say thank you, I appreciate you, all those type of things, that core value is to show them how to be respectful, how to take other people seriously, and how to just make sure that they know what they need to do to make it better. If you don't have the best values being taught to you at home, it's not too late. We're going to teach them to you now, and we're going to let you see what it means, to be respectful and basically love one another person, in a way, and treat people the way you would want to be treated, not the way you are being treated, but the way you want to be treated. So, yeah.
Mhm. Or in some cases, if someone's treating you well, the way you are being treated, right?
Right. That's good too. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
to value that. The core value. So I want you to understand that companies, everything that we've been teaching and talking about this particular series is about tools and resources and methodologies that are used in organizations that we have all been privy to some degree or another, whether it's a policy, whether it's a process, whether it's a methodology. We've all been introduced to this as employees on the job, right? And a lot of times, what we have not done is we've not cross pollinated. We've not taken what we learned in the workplace and said, hey, that's really working. Why not apply it in our homes? Because we think of it as being industrial. We think of it about it as being too systematic and too mechanical, when in fact it is designed to ensure you succeed, ensure that your vision, we all have visions, we all have our own ideology about our family, we all have our own desire for what our family is going to look like. But because we don't have policies, processes, and methodologies in place in our homes, we don't see those results because they're not measurable. They're all abstract, they're all in the idea and in the atmosphere, but there's no way of harnessing all of that so that we can start getting results in our family. And that's what really God has put on my heart, is to take these tools that we're seeing in organizations. And I said to you, Dr. P, offline, was these are, listen, the family was in place before organizations were in place. So that means that really, to be honest with you, the families that were already successful took what they were doing inside their families and brought them into the organizations. And at some point, there was a disconnect, and we failed to keep those practices in our home. And now they're all in companies and organizations, right? Because chores was a systematic approach to what? Tactical planning, right? Tactical transportation, how things are. There were systems and processes in our homes that we took and put in organizations. And because we've seen them in organizations, now we failed again. I'm saying it, I'm repeating myself. We failed to keep them in our homes. And that's why our homes are amuck now, because we've stopped doing that. I want to read what the oh, here we go. I love Harvard Business Review. You already know I love HBR. And so Harvard Business Review on what are core values? What do they mean? Core values are the deeply ingrained principles that guide all the companies or all the families' actions. They serve as its cultural cornerstones. Okay, so this is, our core values are the cornerstones of our families. They should represent when we go out on the street or when we go anywhere in the world. These core values are driving principles to tell us the boundaries and the constructs by which we are to behave and interact with the world, right? And how we are to show up in the world. And that's why we need to make sure that our young people are conscious of such principles, so that they're always the guiding factors. That's what makes us have value for other people, respect for other people, respect for processes and protocols, and understanding and respecting why these things are in place, why these policies, why these procedures, methodologies, ideologies are in place. And also, too, when we know who we are, we'll learn how to respect how other people are, because we want them to respect our core values. We will respect their core values. And then we'll appreciate. That's where diversity becomes beautiful, because our family, does these things this way, because this is what we do. This is our culture, so to speak. How does your family and how do you do things? How, so that we can all appreciate one another's values. But I drive home the point to say that organizations do these every single day, and they're pretty much successful. They're not perfect, but they're successful. And it alleviates stress, right? It alleviates stress off of the child, because the child is no longer acting, or the young person is no longer acting in ignorance. Core values build up the child's confidence and self-esteem, self-worth, because they have something to stand on. They have something to live by. And so that's why these core values are so important. And it'll also drive home the importance of commitment, right? And discipline, and tenacity. And it also gives them the audacity to believe that when they set a goal, they can achieve it because of their own core values and core convictions. Listen, and what would you give? What would be one of the core values that you have, Coach Ray?
I'm gonna let Dr. Natasha go first, because I've been kind of, let me let her go first and see where she's at with it.
Okay, Dr. P, you go ahead.
Well, I think the core value and honesty is respect. Just that's the value that I have the most, that I'm able to go back and listen in to see what other people are dealing with. And therefore, you're learning to respect what someone else's core value is, recognizing that everyone was not raised in my household. I wasn't raised in their household. So we'll go back to one of our favorite words anymore, and that's the word normal. What is normal to you is not normal to me. And just as we're building that up as adults and learning, we learned that from childhood, that every household wasn't the same, but we basically have to respect where another person is coming from. And that's the key, because that is not always easy. That is a learning process every day. It's the reason that we probably argue in the first place, because we're not respecting what the other person is saying. We want to be heard into what we believe. So when we're talking about speaking to young people, just being able to stop and have them understand that they need to respect another person's space, another person's mindset, and everything, because they're not coming from the same place. So maybe if we can just hear each other, then maybe we can come to a solution. and we can therefore be humble enough to be quiet when we need to be honest and recognizing that what we're getting back and forth is not making us comfortable, but we're going to stop and we're going to respect what is being said and what is, what is being put out into literally into the atmosphere. And then hopefully that'll give us that bond that we need to make things better. So if you can start with respect and learning what it is, that's going to set you, in motion to having a stronger core value. I think that's the first place to start.
All right,
I mean,
very good. So respect, Coach Ray.
trust.
Mhm.
And I say that because if we're going to establish it as a core value, young people have to learn that trust has to be built. Trust has to be earned. Trust is not given to just anyone. And I think we're in a place nowadays where kids just trust any and everybody that they think is their friend. No, trust is an earned commodity. So you can't just trust somebody because they're nice and they're fun. And as a family, we got to stop allowing everybody and anybody in our homes, because that, if you do that, that means you have a level of trust. And because somebody you just met when you was out with your friends and you think they nice, so then you establish a level of trust to invite them to your house. Your kids adapt that mindset that you should be able to trust anybody you meet along the way. That's not true. That's the fastest way to fall, because you find yourself trusting the wrong person.
That's right.
And you get your heart broken trusting the wrong person. You get your feelings hurt trusting the wrong people. You lose opportunities trusting the wrong people. So trust is a major core value, because I want to establish in young people's mind that people have to earn the commodity of trust from you. You can't just give it to everybody.
True.
Yeah. So one of mine, and we'll close out with this. One of mine is discipline. One of my core values is make sure that you finish what you start. Um, Trials and tribulations and challenges will come, but you got to main focus. You start strong, finish strong. So that's one of the core values and disciplines that my family has given to me. And so we hope that this has been a blessing to all of you. Again, we focus today on the 7 elements of strategic planning, which are vision and mission, SWOT analysis, core values, goals, objectives, and an action plan. The reason I focused on core values is because a lot of times we are in identity crisis. And identity crisis is because we don't have any core convictions, core values. And you don't know who you are. So that's why you're in identity, because you don't know what your core values are. We always talk about a vision. We always talk about a mission. And I know for me on my platform, we always talk about SWOT analysis. We always talk about goals and objectives. We always talk about an action plan. One thing we don't talk about commonly are core values. And so I pray that this segment has been a blessing to you and cause you to start thinking about what are your core values? What are you instilling to the young people in your life as core values to be guiding boundaries for them? Dr. Coach Ray, we're calling it into existence. Share the importance of trust, and that's so important. It's not that we're judging other people, but you have to have discernment. You have to be so aware of who you are, so that you know who the people are around you. You're not trying to figure out yourself. You have more time, because you know thyself. You have more time to be figuring out the people around you. I always say, you are the CEO of your life. Who's in your boardroom? Dr. P talked about respect. That's so important because we are in a globalized world today. We are not brought up in the same households, and we need to learn how to respect and embrace one another and our differences. With that being said, we are out. Make sure you watch the segments before, and make sure that you watch the last segment of this episode, or this series, so to speak. Take care and be blessed. We're out.